Hello, I want to talk to you a little bit about some things I've been thinking about lately, and that is what are some of the things that we can do to get our country and our governing bodies, whether it be local, state, or in DC, what can we do to get ourselves back in order? I think the issue is really more simple than what a lot of people would like to admit. And I think there's three things that we can do to get us back on track. And I want to call these three things the three C's of government. Now, the first C is the Constitution. We are a land of laws, we are a country of laws. We have the Constitution. In our states, we have the state constitution. But either the state, or both, I should say, the state and the nation have constitutions that were written, voted on, authorized by legislators and by the voting citizens of this country and of the state. The Constitution is the law of the land. And it's very easy to understand that if we follow the laws of the land, don't stray from them, be strict constitutionalists, it would be hard to get in trouble. I just don't see how you could do it. Because if you follow the Constitution, our forefathers were bright enough, they were smart enough to know what would work. And they had done a wonderful, wonderful thing with that Constitution. When I go back and look through history, I believe that our country and our states have been doing wonderful until the day they start trying to fool around with the constitutions. They try to work outside of the Constitution. They try to put things into it that are not there. They try to do things that are not there. Our governing agencies, our government legislatures, our president, all of them can come up with 1,000 different alternatives on things that we should be doing. They can come up with things that we should not be doing. They can come in ways how to massage or change things to adapt to present day. None of them have anything to do with success. We have been going downhill ever since they started playing with it, and we'll continue going downhill as long as they ignore it. So the Constitution, the big C, is the number one C of the three C's of government. The next one is common sense. Folks, we have absolutely no common sense anymore when it comes to life or in governing our cities, our state, our country. Common sense is long lost. I remember my great Uncle Bill and my Aunt Velma. Simple folk didn't have a whole lot of school book education, but they had common sense. They knew right from wrong, and they used the common sense to make sure they never went astray. I'm going to give you a couple of ideas on where common sense is so simple, but we can't seem to get it together. I'm a people watcher. I love going to the mall and watching people walk in and out, scurrying, doing their thing. I like to see how they're dressed, their actions, what they buy. I mean, you can tell a lot by people by just watching them. I know when I was at Columbiana Mall in Columbia, they have this restaurant that has an eating area out inside the restaurant where you come in and out the door. You walk by this restaurant and people are there eating. I saw an older gentleman one day sitting there, reached up, took his teeth out of his mouth, stuck them in the glass, washed them, started slinging them to get them dry. There they went, right out in the middle of the entry into the mall. Everybody walking around them, looking at them. Someone should have stepped on them, but they didn't. Well, the gentleman gets up, walks around, comes out and gets those teeth, look at them, stick them right in his mouth. Well, I see three things wrong with common sense right there. One, he should have never taken them out of his mouth in public. 2, he shouldn't have put them in a glass of water and got them all wet and then tried to shake them dry. Of course, they're slick. They're going to fly right out of your hands. And 3, he went out and picked them up off the filthy floor where everybody's walking in and out and stuck them back in his mouth. Now, common sense would have told me he shouldn't have done any of those things. He shouldn't have took them out in public. He shouldn't have washed them the way he did. And he should have washed them before he put them back in his mouth. So 0 for 0 there. Another thing I saw at the mall, I saw this couple come in one day. She was all dressed up in black leather, tight, rather voluptuous. Tattoos everywhere on chest, arms, neck, cheek. He was tight in leather and all this too. And being as large as she was, she had this real low cut dress or blouse on underneath this jacket. And of course, people were staring. And 2 young men were walking down and could not take their eyes off of her tattoos on her chest. Well, the guy with her got very mad, almost got in a fist fight in there. There was a lot of cussing and pushing and everything. And I'm sitting there thinking, now, so I see several things wrong here. 1, coming out in public dressed like that. 2, having yourself being shown with very little covering. And 3, the fact that you had to have body art to cause people to stare even more. Don't want people to stare at you? Don't wear that type of stuff. If you don't want someone staring at your lady, don't let her out in public like that. Third example of common sense is men and women. Both of us have our own little idiosyncrasies. A woman, more than likely, is the one that takes care of the laundry. She wants the best washing machine, the best dryer. They got to have 15 different settings and all this. And why? So they can do all of their clothes in the right temperature of water and dry them in the right temperature of hot air. And what do? You use normal setting and wash jeans, underclothing, sheets, things like that, all in normal. You dry them all in normal temperature, but yet you paid $1,000 for a washer and $1,000 for a dryer that you never use in any of the settings except normal, because all the other clothes goes to the dry cleaners. Men, you're just as bad. You go out there and you work in your yard every Saturday. You go out there and mow it and you're cussing and fretting because it's growing so fast and growing so tall. You get out there and you mow. And when you get through mowing, what do? You fertilize it and put water on it so it grows thicker and taller. And then what do the next week? You're out there mowing and cussing again. Not much common sense being there either. Well, see, that's the same thing the government's not doing. They need to use a little common sense and think about what they're doing. I don't understand how they feel it is common sense to continue spending the way we spend money. We're spending it faster we can print it. We are borrowing money from all of our Mideast and Far East countries who I question whether or not just how friendly are they to us. China owns as much of America now, and Saudi Arabia owns as much of America now as we do almost, especially in the debt closet. Don't make much sense, does it? Well, the other C in common sense then is common sense. Common sense in the Constitution. The third C is probably the one that needs to be used by more people in government than anything else. And that's castor oil. That's right, castor oil. If you haven't ever heard of castor oil, I tell you what, it is a miracle worker. It is magical. My Aunt Velma used to use castor oil for everything, for muscle pains, for tight muscles, to clean ears. And one of the things that she used to use it for was to make sure your innards, as she would say, were working well. Well, you know what? I think that's what we need in D.C. and in our local governments in Columbia too. Is everybody needs to have a good dose of castor oil. I mean, that stuff would clean them out. And the way to do it is every time they got in a tight situation where they weren't negotiation, wouldn't get anything done like they're supposed to be doing, have the sergeant at arms who just casually walk by and put a tablespoon of castor oil in all their glasses while they're taking a break. Give them all a good dose and say, okay, you can't leave until you get something settled. You can't leave until you get a budget approved. You can't leave until you get the voting rights, voter photo ID, and everything else that we're trying to get in there worked out. Fix this deficit. Once you do that, you can leave. Well, I tell you what, there's going to be some of them in there very anxious to leave in no time flat, and maybe they negotiate and get something taken care of before accidents happen. Well, folks, I tell you what, that's the three C's of governments. And I think that the three C's of governance would really work. All we got to do, the Constitution, common sense, and castor oil. And I can tell you, everything would work much better. Thank you for being here and have a good day. And I hope you will join me Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. at the PD's best place for talk, News Talk 970 WJMX, and also can pick us up at 97.9 FM. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.